Emily, a Korean-American college student, was studying nursing at the City University of New York. Her parents had passed away when she was young, so she lived with her grandparents, who had immigrated from Korea and ran a small restaurant while raising Emily. Following in her parents' footsteps, Emily's dream was to become a nurse. One rainy night, as midterms approached, Emily was studying late at the library. It was already past midnight, and a sudden downpour had started outside. The library's lights were the only things shining lonely in the darkness.
Oh my, it's already this late?
Emily muttered to herself, glancing at her watch. She quickly gathered her books and prepared to leave the library. At that moment, she felt an eerie presence from the corner of the library. As she turned her head, the presence vanished. Despite the chills running down her spine, there was no one around, so she hurriedly left the library. Outside, the rain was pouring so heavily that it rendered her umbrella useless. She ran from the library to the university entrance, holding her umbrella. As she ran, Emily felt the same eerie presence she had experienced in the library. Glancing to the side, she realized someone was watching her. Due to the rain and darkness, she couldn't see clearly, but she noticed a large figure staring at her. Their eyes met, and Emily felt her legs go weak, but she turned her gaze away, ignored the figure, dropped her umbrella, and ran to the subway. Fortunately, there were people on the subway. Although her clothes were completely soaked from the rain, Emily had no time to worry about such things. She found it difficult to even keep her composure. She got off at the station near her home and hurried towards her house. Luckily, the rain had stopped.
Why did it rain so heavily at that moment?
Emily thought as she walked. Not long after, she noticed the atmosphere was darker than usual. Emily felt the chilling presence again and heard footsteps following her. The sound was not that of an ordinary human. It was too heavy and prolonged.
Whatever you do, don't look behind you. Run!
Don't look back!
Filled with fear, Emily quickened her pace without turning her head and headed home.
Grandma, Grandpa, something scary happened.
Upon arriving home, Emily told her grandparents about the presence that had been following her. Her grandparents, well-versed in Korean folk beliefs, looked grim as they listened to Emily's story.
Emily, that must be the 8-feet ghost. In Korea, there are many stories about it. It's a giant ghost that stands 8 feet tall. Its entire body is covered in black fur and its eyes are red like blood. It has long nails on its hands. Every night it follows people and makes them tremble with fear.
Grandma pushed Emily into her room and said,
Stay here. We'll put talismans on the windows so you can't see outside. No matter what you hear, never leave this room. Understand?
Emily nodded, terrified. As the night deepened, Emily heard strange noises coming from outside her room. There were sounds of something lurking around the house, scratching at the windows, and most terrifyingly, knocking on the door while mimicking her grandparents' voices.
Emily! It's Grandma! Open the door!
But the voice clearly didn't belong to her grandparents. It was too eerie and threatening. Emily hid in her room all night, consumed by fear. The noises from outside grew more intense, and there were several impacts that seemed like the door would break. The mind-numbing sounds continued, and Emily covered her ears, closed her eyes, and trembled in fear until she eventually fainted. When Emily opened her eyes, it was morning, and her grandparents had opened the door to embrace her. "Emily, are you all right? Come on, wake up." Grandma's gentle voice roused Emily. Grandpa was looking at her with a warm smile. All the horrors of the night had vanished, and the terrifying presence of the 8-foot ghost was nowhere to be found. From that day on, Emily never stayed alone at the library late at night. The story ends here, but no one knows if the 8-foot ghost will return or seek out someone else.